What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about why Brits are so obsessed with tea. What is the deal? I think one of the reasons that Americans like myself have a hard time understanding or relating to this is because we just don't drink tea. We don't know what it's all about. We don't understand the hype. Whereas in comparison, tea seems to honestly be like a cultural institution in Britain. If I had to compare it to something in America, it'd be like ranch dressing or something. Like, why do Americans love ranch dressing? Why do Brits love tea? Is that a fair comparison? Although Brits seem to drink tea, on a daily basis. Tea time and stuff like that. And Americans, some of us will drink a glass of ranch on a daily basis, but we're not going to get into that right now. But the most obvious thing, I guess, that sticks out to me of why is tea popular in Britain is it must taste good. It's a nice thing to have, It's a good drink. That's the most obvious, but I feel like there's more to it than that, because it's not popular in America, and we like things that taste good. And there's all sorts of things that aren't popular all over the world that taste good, so that's one reason, but this must have something to do with the history and culture of Britain, which I'm very, very excited to learn about today. So without any further ado, let's find out.
Why are the Brits so obsessed with tea?
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Kate, and this is Anglophenia. Now, one of the first things you'll be asked by most Brits is, would you like a cup of tea? Yes, we're...
Is that actually true? Because, this has so many levels to it. Like, I almost was convinced growing up that tea in Britain was a stereotype, an exaggeration. I was like, nah, they're so silly in the movies where the people in Britain are always drinking tea. That's a misrepresentation. No. The funny thing is, it does seem to be somewhat accurate that Brits really enjoy their tea. That's a whole funny thing. So the fact that there is this sentiment of oh, what's the first thing a Brit might do when they meet you? Oh, maybe invite you in, maybe over some tea, shows how actually popular and important tea is. And I just want to know why.
We're rather fond of a proper brew, which is what we call a nice cup of tea. And it's our go-to solution for almost any scenario. Want an excuse to gossip with your friends? Invite them over for a cup of tea. Do you have a builder doing some work on your house? It would be offensive not to offer him a cuppa.
Wow, I didn't... Is this a big part of it? Tea has all these use cases. It's has a lot of applications I never thought about. You want to get all your dirty secrets out of your best friend? Get him over here for some tea or something. You want the carpenter to do a better job at building your stairs? Give him a little tea. I'm starting to understand. It can be quite useful to get what you want. It's really a tool of manipulation. I exaggerate a little bit, but I had never thought about tea this way.
Through a personal drama? Yep, you guessed it. A cup of tea will make everyone feel better.
Huh.
It's hardly surprising then that the UK raced through a whopping 165 million cups of tea every day. Seriously, that is a lot. What?
A day? I was positive she was gonna say, I don't know, a year, honestly. A day? Did she say 100 million?
Cups of tea. Surprising then that the UK raced through a whopping 165 million cups of tea every day.
165 million cups a day? What's the population of the UK? I can't let this slide. Population. 67 million? That's 3 glasses of tea per person every day. On average. Some people are doing less, and some people are drinking 10 teas a day, maybe if they're having a bad day. That's kind of mind-blowing.
Seriously, that is a lot of cup lifting.
Although, I did just think about, this is starting to sound familiar. Coffee in America. This is starting to sound a lot like the obsession with coffee in America. That actually is a much better analogy than ranch dressing. now that I think of it. Never mind, let us continue.
But it's how we stay in such great shape. But how have we become one of the biggest tea-drinking nations per capita in the world?
Yes.
Here are a few interesting moments in history that helped make tea a quintessentially British affair.
Okay. Right, like why is it so British? Yeah, it is popular in other places in Asia, and I'm sure other places that I'm not even aware of. What is this? British East India Company.
Our love of tea goes back to the mid-1600s, when the British East India Company dominated the tea imported to Britain. We had a constant and growing supply of tea.
Okay, that's a little vague. I feel like we're missing some steps here. It's like, why did the British Trading Company, why were they such a big importer of tea to Britain? This just kind of jumps in of, yeah, Britain was importing most of the tea in the planet. And so, I don't know. I am interested in the history of why did this all start?
Dominated the tea imported to Britain. We had a constant and growing supply of tea, which was convenient, as we had been excluded from the coffee-exporting Mediterranean during our wars with France and Spain at the time.
Oh, is that a major reason? There's something interesting. Is that why? I don't know how popular coffee is in Britain. Probably pretty popular, like I have to think. But is some of this based off the fact that coffee wasn't available and Britain kind of there was a void to fill. An empty void of a delicious drink to get you through your day. No coffee, so tea.
Whilst our surrounding countries remained hooked on coffee, Britain became a tea-drinking nation.
Huh.
Tea hasn't always been there.
Does tea actually help you wake up? Does it have any caffeine in it? I actually honestly don't know much about it.
Innocent drink we know and love today. During the 1700s, increasing tea prices saw a rise in both tea smuggling and fake teas, which were...
Tea smuggling. Man, this gets good. The dark tea smuggling days. Man, this goes back 400 years, the tea. 400 years of tea in Britain. That's pretty amazing.
Often used tea leaves mixed with other leaves and then dyed. These lower-priced teas were sold to the working classes, which meant that tea, even if it wasn't the best quality, were no longer just for the rich.
Okay. Oh, so the fake watered-down tea that was kind of bad turned out to be actually useful, because at least it was some form of crappy tea that the common people could indeed enjoy and get exposed to. So that's actually kind of fascinating. All right, now we have afternoon tea. Yes, explain afternoon tea to me.
Afternoon tea, also known as low tea due to the low tables it was served on, came about in around 1841, thanks to the very hungry tummy of one woman.
What? Afternoon tea can be traced back to a singular event, a single person? Like 200 years ago?
Anna Russell, the Duchess of Bedford, who took social convention into her own hands and began enjoying a pot of tea and a light snack to satisfy that sinking feeling in the late afternoon.
Okay.
Before long, afternoon tea...
Okay. Never really caught on in America to satisfy that empty stomach feeling in the afternoon. We just went ahead and had more snacks. Then Britain was like, hey, we can have some self-control here. We can have a little tea, little, I don't know, crumpet or biscuit, perhaps. Funny comparison.
It became quite the social event. Queen Victoria, a friend of the Duchess's, formalised afternoon tea with her Buckingham Palace tea receptions.
That's kind of a nice thing, too. Like, tea time or afternoon tea is probably a nice event for Brits, I imagine. A lot of stuff that brings us a lot of happiness, conversations and seeing friends and meeting up with people, is all based around food. So this introduces another sort of afternoon food time where you can kind of have a reason to hang out and relax with your friends or something, or alone, whatever. So it honestly just sounds nice that this was invented, not even just for the tea, but it's a relaxing time of the day.
I think my invite may have gotten lost in the post. Today, afternoon tea is enjoyed at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And
4 o'clock? Oh man, I didn't know it was that late. That's pushing it to me. I guess that is the afternoon. I guess that makes sense. I guess that makes sense. When you think about it, it's like very much in between lunch and dinner. Afternoon tea, I thought it was going to be like 2 o'clock or something. This honestly makes a lot more sense. I bashed it at first, but what do I know?
It is made up of a selection of finger sandwiches, scones, pastries, and homemade cakes. Cream tea is a simpler version with scones, clotted cream, jam, and of course, a pot of tea.
All of these foods sound so fancy as well. Am I like over romanticizing the tea foods? They look like a bit of a pain to assemble or create, or perhaps you just buy them already made, or maybe lots of people have tea without all the foods. It seems so darn fancy to have to whip that out every time. Is that just the lazy American in me talking? I don't know.
And it's my personal favourite.
High
Not to be
tea.
mistaken for afternoon tea, high tea, also known as meat tea, was in fact a hot meal of meat pies, vegetables and bread, eaten at the end of the day with a cup of tea by factory workers during the Industrial Revolution.
Oh, high tea? I haven't heard of high tea. Is this still done today, or is this an old Industrial Revolution thing? I don't actually know. I've heard of afternoon tea, not high tea. Is this like a dinner replacement, or an embellishment of after dinner time? Or I don't know. We're really getting into the details here.
It was called high tea due to the high tables it was served on, but these were just regular sized tables. Today, in many parts of the UK, the evening meal is often referred to as tea, which can be a tad confusing if you're expecting sandwiches and a slice of cake.
Wait, the evening meal? Like dinner? You can just call it tea? Am I misunderstanding here? I feel like I am. Like, wouldn't you call it dinner time or supper or something? Would you really call dinner tea, or is high tea after dinner? I'm a little confused here. The tea, I didn't think there'd be this much to all the tea times, to be perfectly honest. Liberty and tea-getherness. Ooh, tea-getherness. That's nice.
In the 1880s, tea rooms became fashionable with women as respectable places they could go to meet their friends for a discreet chat and even discuss politics. Eventually, tea rooms became an integral part of the women's liberation movement. Tea was also used as a morale booster to soldiers during the Second World War.
This is what I'm talking about. Tea, like, has a lot of usefulness outside of being a drink. Like letting, she was saying that women had tea rooms where they could meet with their friends and have fun, all based around the existence of tea, and workers as well.
Movement. Tea was also used as a morale booster to soldiers during the Second World War.
Soldiers, morale booster. Yeah, I could see that, absolutely.
With the Prime Minister Winston Churchill stating, "The tea is more important than bullets." Hear, hear.
What? Wow.
Interestingly,
I mean, I get it. Like, that's a funny quote. The tea bag. Okay.
Interestingly, 96% of tea consumed in Britain comes in the form of a tea bag, which just so happens to be an American invention.
Wow. Hey, we did something. Woohoo. That has to do with tea. The tea bag. Yeah. I don't really know any other way you make tea. And this is how you make tea, a single cup? Or can you use a tea bag in a teapot? Oh boy, I'm gonna stop before I reveal my tea ignorance even more.
During the early 1900s, tea merchant Thomas Sullivan sent out tea samples to his customers in silken sachets. Americans were naturally enthusiastic about these newfangled, super convenient tea bags, but they didn't catch on in Britain until the 1950s.
Wow.
But boy, do we love them now.
How do you make tea without the tea bag? Do you just put tea leaves into hot water? And I think that's how you would do it. Otherwise, maybe I'm totally missing something else. As an American, literally all I know of is the tea bag.
So there you are, just a few examples of how tea has become part of British culture and society. Now, with all this talk of tea, I bet you're wondering how to make a proper cup of tea.
Yes.
Well, you're in luck. In the next episode, you're formally invited to tea.
All right, stop. In the next episode, eventually I will learn how to make the proper cup of tea. That sounds like a good video, like, in the future. But for now, this is good. This is by Angolophenia. That was very good. That was very well done. Very enjoyable. I really did enjoy that. And it's well made, too. I'm starting to get it. I am really starting to get it. Just with that first video, I have a much better grasp of tea in Britain. It's not just that it tastes good. It's not just that it's enjoyable. It creates a circumstance, a moment of happiness, an event, a time where you can be with friends or relax, meditate. That all actually makes a lot of sense to me. That was great. Like, this is great. I actually know the history of tea, how and why it was brought to Britain, how it became more popular, and kind of the reason that it became an institution, a cultural meaningful thing in Britain to this day. So, I think I get it. I get it. I can rest easy for finally found out why are Brits so obsessed with tea. I'm getting a little obsessed now. But seriously, this is good. I enjoyed it a lot. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to British culture and Britain and just stuff in Britain about Britain that I have never seen before or learned about, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching and see you next time.